How would you compare World Class under Gary Hart as the booker to Ken Mantell?
Oh, night and day. Gary knew what to do.
Gary was a lot better.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I like Ken, but Gary was. He just was a great booker, and he knew how to put it all together.
Were you surprised when Fritz removed Gary from power?
Yeah.
Why do you think that happened?
Gary tried to tell him things and tried to tell him how it had to be done. I mean, he wasn't afraid to go in and say, "We can't keep this up. We're going to lose this thing." And he told me that. He said, I said, and so got rid of him.
Now, were you surprised when Ken Mantell left the company? And it led to a number of top world-class names to leave the company, including the Freebirds, Chris Adams, and John Tatum.
It was. I was pretty much out of it by then. The Oklahoma City bunch, I think it was, or somebody bought the contracts from Fritz or something. But
it was probably Bill Watts.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and they just left, and there was nothing left. I mean, there was nobody there.
Do you remember what Fritz's reaction was when a lot of the guys left the company?
Well, they were traitors. He was through. He was really through.
Obviously, the biggest show of the year was Parade of Champions. What are your favorite memories of those shows?
I just don't remember those shows very well. Is that what Mark did?
What's that?
The Parade of Champions?
Yeah, he did a lot of them too.
Yeah, I think he did that.
The WWF was growing really strong in the 80s. Why do you think World Class didn't feel the immediate pressure like so many other promotions did?
But they were too successful. Things were going so great. And Fritz didn't want to contest anything, so we didn't do anything except the very basics around there, like we could have done, and that didn't put us into a real dispute with them.
Do you think it was a big mistake to break away from the NWA when World Class broke away?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I mean, God, the system was so good. It was just wonderful. Because you always had this potential for a big audience,
right?
And the way they rotated them in and out, it was a mastermind, and I couldn't imagine that you'd give this up to have just a little local promotion.
In 1987, Ken Mantell started Wild West Wrestling and ran opposition to World Class. What led you to leave WCCW and work for that promotion?
87?
I think it was 87, right?
Yeah, but I wasn't with WCCW then.
No, you went over to work a little bit with Ken, I think.
I went over to Ken, yeah.
Yeah. Memories of working there. And what was Fritz's reaction to your decision?
I'd never heard from him. But we were through, I can't remember the exact time, but 39, I think, dropped the thing, and they went someplace else. And the guy talked to me about continuing. I said, no, this is all I can do. Anyway, I had a bad time with somebody who was taking over the promotion or something. And
for Fritz? In World Class you're talking about, right?
Yeah, after Fritz. Whatever it was. But, that part is really fuzzy. I guess I'm getting old because I can remember the first part better than the ending.
Do you remember who the person was?
No.
Okay.
But he didn't pay, for one thing. So I was out, and Ken Mantell wanted to try this thing, and we tried it, and it didn't work.
I think he eventually started to work a little bit with World Class. I think he went and started working with them a little bit. Do you remember that?
No.
Why was Gary Hart so opposed to Fritz selling Ken Mantell a piece of World Class?
Well, I don't know that either. But they were different. Those two were always at odds with each other. So I'm sure that he didn't want to be involved if Ken was there.
Gotcha.
And that was something I don't think Gary and I ever talked about. We tried to, fire up the Sportatorium again later on. It was just awful.
Were you surprised when the Von Erichs sold the promotion to Jerry Jarrett?
Yeah, Yeah, really was.
What are your thoughts on the promoting, turning into USWA and retiring the world class name? What are your thoughts of when that happened?
I just thought the thing is over. The whole thing had gone downhill until this sort of thing had to happen to it. And Mickey was out of it. I was out of it.
Okay. What led to you and Mickey and Gary Hart running World Class 2? It was the Next Generation. I believe that was in like 1997.
Yeah, the thing was dying, and Gary and Mickey and I talked. I thought the three of us, with our former world class thing, might be able to create some energy. And but when something is dead, it's dead, and none of us could do anything. We didn't have anything to do. So we tried it. I didn't have really time for it, and Gary ran it for a while and ran it himself out into debt, I guess.
Do you think there's a world-class curse, given how many talents from that era had died?
Well, if the circumstances of that period was what caused those people to die, I mean, I don't think there's a curse.
It was just the use of drugs.
I mean, they're running world class again. I don't know if they're going to die all over again.
Right. You think it's just the lifestyle?
It's just the lifestyle that happened at that time. It was
yeah.
Wow.
Have you ever seen any of the WCW documentaries that are out there? The one with Chris Adams or the Heroes of World Class? Or WWE even put one
Yeah,
out?
I've seen some of those, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
They're okay.
Were they accurate or?
Well, they don't tell everything, of course. They don't get a lot of it. Chris Adams was another guy that I really admired, and we had a good time together. But the guy you talk about all the things of that period. His drinking, his drugs, his going to prison, and I mean, good Lord, it just it was unbelievable.
Out of control?
Yeah, the whole world was, I thought.
I have a list of talent I'm gonna ask you in a few minutes. We'll go down. Maybe you can share some stories on Chris Adams and some other guys.
All right.
But I'm gonna finish up with these questions first.
Okay.
Who are the most underrated world-class talents that you feel didn't get the attention that they deserved? Who are some guys that could have been the next big baby face of the company or top heel?
I don't know that there was anybody.
What about the Simpson brothers when they came into the company? Do you think they even had a chance, or even Lance Von Erich?
Lance was a good-looking guy.
But he didn't
He
have
was supposed to fill in a cousin. That didn't work. There were some groups, like the Simpsons, which I've forgotten about, of course, by now. But nobody could rise up enough,
Yeah.
and that eliminated a lot of them.
After you left the business, did you ever miss calling wrestling? Did you miss it?
I always had a great affection for that show and the way all the good things that went through it. But yeah, I missed that because it was such an important time, and it became an important time in my career, which was just about over as far as doing anything. I did football and some things around, but God, no, I never looked back. I never looked back on any of this stuff. I left the Cowboys to go do baseball, and that you just do things like that and relish the fact that I was there and that we were there together, all of us.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.